Let's start with the best deck in the game, Snake Eyes Fiendsmith Azamina. This deck is stupidly broken. It's 3 decks mixed in one which all search each other. You negate their Fiendsmith plays. They go into Azamina. You stop their Azamina plays. They finally start with Snake Eyes. And you can't even save your hand traps for the better targets against this deck because each engine can set up negates for your hand traps if you don't stop it early. You're seeing now the combo that's possible with just one Snake Eye Ash. No deck will be able to play through all of that without board breakers. And if that wasn't enough, the deck has amazing follow-up as well, so if you were somehow able to break their board, it all just comes back next turn, so they'll just OTK you turn 3. So it looks like even after a year of Snake Eyes dominance, the deck is still going strong. But don't worry. Konami's ban list, which brought Swap Frog back to 3, is going to save the format. This is the deck list. You can try to maybe fit in Kashtira engine into this if you're a madman. Next we have Tenpai, not Tenpai Fiendsmith, just Tenpai, the same old Tenpai that we know and love, filled to the brim with hand traps, board breakers, and good old one-card OTK Tenpai monsters. So let's just assume that their 3 hand traps weren't enough to stop your combo, and you ended on a board. They'll then have 2 board breakers, and of course a 1-card OTK line. So no matter your board, if they drew the right board breakers, many decks won't have a chance against this. So if you lose the coin flip a lot, this deck is for you, since this is the best going second deck in the game. What makes playing against this deck very annoying is that Tenpai monsters are unaffected in the main phase. So you think you'll just deal with them in the battle phase, but no, Transcendent Dragon prevents activations in the battle phase. So for some decks it feels like they just can't do anything against Tenpai, but that's why we love it. You can try to fit in some Fiendsmith cards in this, but I found this version of hand traps and board breakers to be much better. Another deck with Fiendsmith in it. We have White Forest Fiendsmith Azamina. The recent support made this deck better and more consistent. On turn 1 you aim to build a strong end board consisting of 6+ disruptions. But what's good about this is it can be resilient to hand traps, and it can be good under max C by just searching woes of the White Forest and passing turn. And of course you can always bait hand traps first by starting with your Fiendsmith engine before doing your main plays. And your disruptions will vary from Omni Negates to Monster Negates to flipping monsters face down, as well as destroying cards and drawing with Guardian Chimera. So the deck is already top tier, and it'll be even better when it gets the missing support, which is a field spell that makes the deck consistent. This is how I'd build this deck. The majority seem to like playing just one Estella, so you can do that. You can also add Elf and Beatrice to the extra deck, but I don't think it's needed. Another Fiendsmith mix. We now have Tearlaments Fiendsmith, which turns just one Fiendsmith Engraver into full Tearlaments combo thanks to Beatrice. The deck was already top tier, but now with Fiendsmith, it gives the deck the ability to play through more hand traps and the ability to summon Apollousa a lot more consistently. Or instead, you can just go into your Fiendsmith line with Closed Heaven of course, and going second you have cards like Super Poly to help break boards and set up your own plays, as well as the ability to play through a few disruptions just by using Engine. Makes Tearlaments one of the best decks for this format. This deck hasn't lived up to expectations, but it's still one of the best decks for this format. We have Yubel Fiendsmith. I personally believe this deck would be the best of this format, but Snake Eyes currently clears every other deck. But this doesn't mean the deck is bad, it's still top tier and incredibly annoying to play against. Every time you clear a Yubel monster it just floats into another one, which makes OTK against this deck can be annoying to achieve. Also especially because Nightmare Pain only allows you to attack into indestructible Yubel monsters, and if you're going first. The deck has one of the best end boards in the game, consistently ending on 7+ disruptions, which vary from Omni Negates to banishing cards to link with opponents' monsters, so you're ready for whatever you're facing. And of course, if you go second, thanks to Nightmare Pain, you'll be attacking into your opponent's monsters to reflect damage for an easy OTK. And finally, we have Snake Eyes Fire King, but I already included a Snake Eyes deck, so instead we have the 7th best deck, Branded. With most of its cards being unlimited now, except for Branded Fusion, the deck got huge consistency boosts. Of course there's the meme of you can't play through an Ash Blossom, but you'll see in this replay that we can do so just fine. It's also one of the few decks that kept its identity and isn't play Fiendsmith, so it gets bonus points for that. Branded on turn 1 can end on monster banishes, monster negates with Mercurier, and of course the 3 Omni negates with Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, which by itself will be too much to play against. And going second, you have your board breakers like Super Poly to help or Albaz to fuse with opponents' monsters and so on. And thanks to Thrust, the deck can play just fine through hand traps. So if you were wondering if the deck is still good, it's definitely still one of the best decks in the game. Subscribe if this video helped. Here's my deck list. Thanks for watching. Make sure to also join my Discord to chat with a like-minded community.